Hello and welcome back to SnowRunner, y'all. Now in this video, we're going to be doing a combination of things from a little bit of camping to a little bit of exploration and really just a lot of unlocking a good portion of the map here in the new North Carolina region. Now, this is the second map, which is the radiated zone. However, the primary objective of this particular video is not necessarily to unlock as much of the map as possible, but rather to find as many fun and interesting and realistic, or rather semi-realistic, camping areas that we can honestly just explore, because these new maps have a lot more to offer than you might think on the surface. Because I've seen a lot of people, as you kind of always see with any new SnowRunner DLC, people see a new season coming out and they say, oh, I'm not going to bother looking into it. It's probably just the same as all of the others before it and nothing is really going to be new, and so I'm not going to bother. And I will, of course, 100% admit that there was kind of a period of time where the SnowRunner developers may have backed themselves into a little bit of that, because there were a lot of DLCs that just kind of reused the same assets over and over and over again, or at the very least they felt like they did. And when you do that enough times, I think you develop a little bit of an issue where that's kind of what the player base expects. And when that's what the player base expects, and then you go and do something that is new, like the North Carolina DLC with all of its new assets and trees and bushes and different rocks and textures and things like that, you'll then get people that are like, well, why should I bother? They didn't update, all of these new things with the prior DLCs, so I'm not even going to check to see if they did with this one. However, regardless of any of this stuff, regardless of whether or not you think this is a worthwhile DLC or not, I honestly think it's actually pretty decently well put together as far as what I've seen from the public test servers so far anyway. So as we continue to drive through the upcoming and newer areas of this map, again, the second map in the upcoming North Carolina region, I think honestly we're going to find some pretty decent stuff, or at least some stuff that is going to be at the very least somewhat interesting, or at the very least interesting to look at. Which is one of the reasons why I enjoy making on these DLCs, because even if you don't want to necessarily buy the pack itself, you can honestly still watch a lot of the videos and get enjoyment out of seeing the DLC and then make an informed decision based on that, rather than based on, I don't know, just not even being able to see any of it in the first place, because a lot of people don't necessarily like to just make their decisions based off the trailers. They want to be able to see actual gameplay. And I think that being able to provide gameplay that people can watch allows people to make a lot more of an informed decision over just looking at a few screenshots or watching a trailer or two. So there's definitely something to be said, I think, for videos that show more of the raw gameplay and more of the, I think, organic approach to the exploration, rather than a heavily edited or heavily produced, here's this trailer, here's this DLC, here are these screenshots, and here's the premise, and decide whether or not you want to buy it. Whereas what I like to do is I like to approach it from the standpoint of, what would I do if I had just bought this DLC? Like, what would I do if I was like sitting down after a long day to explore a new region in the game? And I think a lot of people enjoy these regions like that. And so that's kind of how I like to approach my type of exploration. And I do think having the camper add-on really adds to the immersion of that. Now, I know there's obviously, and I'm sure they're out there in the comments right now, the people that don't want to use mods, don't like mods, and that's totally fine and valid if that's how you prefer to play the game. But I don't know, I feel like if I was still only using vanilla vehicles at this stage of SnowRunner, I mean, keeping the game in solely, it's like this commitment, this hyper commitment to keeping your game in its vanilla state seems a little bit, I don't know, wild to me at this point, because the game has been out and on the ground for so long that I wonder what you're holding on to by being so adamant about keeping the game in its vanilla state. Again, it just seems like people that are so hyper committed to keeping the game in its exact vanilla state at this point. I just wonder what they're still holding on to, because there are so many reasons to enjoy this game modded at this point, because there are so many add-ons that are so good. Like, for example, this Ram 3500 with the camper add-on, because the camper add-on has a functional door and it's got a portable unit a portable radar unit on the dashboard. And all of these things, in my opinion, make the experience in the game more fun. Although I can understand how some people might not see it that way. They might just see it as, people kind of always approach it from the angle of, well, I don't use mods because they make the game too easy. And I feel like that still never holds up, because that never holds up, at least in my opinion, because there are so many mods out there that allow you to, let's say, for example, you can have tires with vanilla grip. You can have tires with super over-the-top grip. You can have all of these different tunes for your own vehicle's performance, and you can set it up to the way that you want it to be. And so when people say, well, I don't use mods because they make the game too easy, it honestly sounds more like you're just mad that people have the option of doing that if they want to, but they don't necessarily have to, and you certainly don't necessarily have to. So I think it's just a very vocal group of people that are mad that others have options. And personally, I've never understood the standpoint of people being mad that others have options, even if they may not be the options that you prefer or that you like. More options are still always better, because then more people can enjoy the game. And it just seems so closed off of a mindset to have in terms of how a game, quote unquote, should be played. Because again, at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like there's even a little bit of an issue with the idea of there's a right way versus a wrong way to play SnowRunner. Because think about it, right? Like, if this was a PvP game, I could understand, where it's like, obviously you wouldn't want to be able to use mods that some players could have but other players couldn't have, and then it would give them an advantage over them in PvP. But this isn't a PvP experience. This isn't a PvP game in the slightest. And so when you're dealing with something that isn't even remotely PvP, I don't understand what there even is to be mad about. Unless you're just seriously mad that other people are having fun. Also, different topic entirely, but I'm going to change topics here for a second, because look at the gorgeous views here on this map. They're absolutely incredible. These are some of the best views I have seen in a vanilla map in, honestly, a really long time. Because as y'all know, I'm very partial to the mountainous maps with a lot of elevation change and elevation difference, because I just honestly think they're gorgeous, and I really wish they would do more maps in this kind of style. Now, I get that they do have to obviously spread out the different types of environments that they have. They need swamps, they need muddy areas, they need wooded areas, they need plains, they need all of these different environment types, but these are the types of maps that I always personally love hanging out on. And also, maps like this are so good for roleplay scenarios. So let's say, for example, you wanted to do like a roleplay scenario of going camping with some friends. Maps like this are perfect for that, especially if you're on a console that doesn't necessarily have a ton of storage space available for mods. Because if you don't have a ton of storage space for mods, that just means that the vanilla maps can work that much better for you. However, at the same time, you may have an entirely different opinion on that, and that is, again, totally cool. You might not have any interest at all in vanilla maps, and if that's the case, let me know why in the comments below. I would genuinely love to hear from y'all. And now, as it's time to head back down the mountain, let me know any of your thoughts and opinions down there in the comments from this episode of Exploration in the upcoming North Carolina DLC. Of course, this was played on the public test server, but all of the mods that I used, which was really just this one truck, and then of course the add-on pack for said truck, will be linked in the description box down below, and they are also all available on console. So if you are looking to use these yourselves, make sure to check either mod.io or the console mod browser of your choice for these specific mods. And with all of that out of the way, let me know if you're excited for this upcoming DLC, and make sure to stay subscribed with those notifications turned on. However, that is going to be it for me for this one, and I will see y'all next time.